Hey, welcome guys. My name is Leonard S. Robert and I'm here with a new series. This is the first episode of a new series. What is on my mind? I wanted to talk about what is on my mind. Been trying to kind of keep the videos a little bit away from gear, even though I am going to talk about gear, but I think there's more to guitar playing than gear, even though I'm I'm kind of putting all my money in gear, and but so maybe it's more of a thing for myself to try and focus not so much on the materialistic side of playing the guitar and being a musician, but basically kind of trying to focus on what matters. So I wanted to talk about this guitar. Well, this is going great. Am I right? The first time I'm doing this show and I'm breaking my rules like instantly. So I wanted to talk about this guitar because this is a funny thing. I wanted to talk about multiple things. The first thing is that these pickups, they are EMGs. And when you're not playing metal or hard rock or something, or if you're not Steve Lukather or Dave Gilmour, EMG pickups seem like a little bit of an odd choice, maybe. So when you're a guitar player that uses like vintage tones, you know, like tube amps or of course tube amps, but like clean tube amps and pedals, and you're not kind of a rock guy or a metal guy, EMGs seem like a bit of a weird choice, which maybe they are, I'm not sure, but I wanted to try these pickups because I have been a fan of Steve Lukather's for ever since I was like 2 years old, or maybe 1.5 years old. There are pictures of me where I am like standing, looking in awe on the TV when Toto is playing and Steve is playing solos. But anyways, so I always wanted to check out these EMG pickups. So I had a set of SA 81 pickups in this guitar, but I didn't like the humbucker, or I liked it, but not in combination with the singles, because the humbucker was too muffled, too muddy, not bright enough. Something I've talked about before, which I also didn't like with the EMG pickups. So I ordered another SA pickup and got a new pick guard and installed this with something extra over here, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I do like this guitar right now. I was looking for a noiseless guitar, a guitar that I can use when I'm playing covers and that I don't have to worry about, oh shit, my guitar is buzzing. Because especially when you're playing a lot of theaters, which I do, there are a lot of places that are old and have like dirty power in them. So, you know, and then your guitar is buzzing like hell, especially when you're using a bit of drive or distortion or God forbid, a fuzz. So having a noiseless guitar, even as a backup, is kind of, for me, is almost a must. So I checked out these EMGs, and I do like them a lot. Because what's also fun about this guitar is I put in the SPC, which is an abbreviation for Strat Presence Control, and it does do a thing in the mids. It kind of bumps the mids and it reduces the highs, which gives it, as they claim themselves, a sort of a humbucker-like tone. I don't know about that, but it does work great for solos and humbucker-like tones, because your tone is not as bright anymore, and it kind of smooths out the tone. I saw a guy online, maybe on the gear page, describing it as having an onboard tube screamer on your guitar, which kind of how'd you say it? Well, that's kind of what it is. So I'm using the Line 6 HX Stomp right now, using a Fender Super Reverb amp and a IR from a Deluxe Reverb. And I'm using like a King of Tone, or actually a Prince of Tone, which is like not like a single-sided King of Tone actually. Yeah, so this is the clean tone. So back to the Prince of Tone. So the SPC is like a like an onboard tube screamer, because when I'm off, or even ever so slightly, I'm just like halfway up right now. So the result of like the mid boost is also that your signal is being like pumped up and there's more gain, so it also distorts like your pedals or your amp or wherever you're getting your distortion from. It also creates more distortion. So if I'm going like from 0 to 10, oh, so that was still 5. So this is 0. And that's 10. So let's get rid of the delay. So it still has that single coil character, but especially when you're using more distortion, which I will do in a minute, it kind of scratches that like 80s lead tone humbucker itch. Watch. Whoa! especially with some chorus and delay. Oh my God. So, you know, if you're putting this next to a Les Paul or like a 335, it doesn't come close, of course, but when you're doing like a cover gig and you want like a very versatile guitar, this works. And it's also funny because back when I would listen to Pink Floyd a lot, I listened to that Pulse record a lot, which was like a live record. And Dave Gilmour, his sound, I always was like, how does he get that sound from a Strat? And now I know it's just the SPC, because that's what it does. He always had this very thick lead sound and this very humbuckery type of sound, which is very un-Strat-like or unstock Strat-like. And of course, he uses loads of gear that kind of gets him that sound, but the SPC is a big chunk of that sound, which I found out when I got the SPC in this guitar. So that's my thing for EMG, and of course they're dead silent, which is awesome. Not with the gain here, but they are very silent, which is great. And then this guitar, this is also a funny guitar because the brand is Fazley, which Dutch guys will probably know it and are going right now like, what, you're playing a Fazley? Because they are like the house brand of a very large music store here in the Netherlands, and they usually make very crap instruments. Like they make drums, acoustic guitars, electrics, keys, everything you can imagine, and usually it's of a very low quality. But this isn't. I remember when I think this was a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was at one of those stores. And I saw this guitar, and it was originally an HSS guitar, and I was always kind of looking for an HSS guitar, and I was like, oh, that. So I saw this guitar because I liked the look, like the shell pink vibe, and it had an HSS guitar, and I saw from the distance that it had a roasted maple neck. So I was like, oh, that's a cool guitar. Let's check it out. And I ended up like playing that thing for an hour or so. And it was like 130. It was like 130 euros or something. So it was dead cheap. And I was like, am I gonna buy this guitar? I'm not gonna buy a Fazley. What the fuck am I doing? But I did ended up getting it. And yeah. It's a nice guitar. I mean, I have lots of more expensive instruments, but this is a nice guitar. It's not as good as my expensive Strat or my expensive Tele or my Mexican Tele, but it's a nice guitar to not worry about, to fly with. I'm going to fly to Curacao in June to do a few gigs there, so then I'm taking this with me because I don't have to worry about it all that much. So but I still feel a little embarrassed when I'm playing this on stage, which is like weird. actually, because it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what brand of guitar you're playing. It only should matter, like, whether you're playing good or not. So, but hey, that's an internal struggle, I guess. Okay, then I played this awesome 9079 Strat the other day, and I'm seriously thinking about getting it, because ever since I was at the Vintage Veenendaal Beurs at one time, which Beurs, yeah, it's called the Vintage Veenendaal Beurs, but Beurs is like a yes, like an exchange. So lots of vintage guitars right there, and I played a vintage guitar, a vintage Strat there one time, and I really liked it, and I didn't buy it, and that still pains me because I really like that Strat, but I was with my brother and he was like, "Oh, it's a bit of a bright guitar, and I don't think you should buy it." But I still think about that guitar sometimes. So ever since then, I'm kind of looking, kind of not, kind of am looking for a cool late 70s Strat. Not in the least amount, because they're cheaper than other vintage Strats, but they also have a vibe to them. And I saw a hardtail Strat, which is not heavy, it's light, which is also very unusual for those late 70s guitars, and I think I'm gonna buy it, which is a bad financial decision, because I have lost some work suddenly over the last few days, so that's kind of a bummer. But I think I'm still gonna buy it. I'm gonna trade in some gear, I'm gonna sell some gear, and then it's not that much money that I'm actually paying for it. So I think I'm going to get it, because it's a great guitar. It's light, it sounds great, it plays great. I even compared it to a 73 they had at the store, and I like this one better, which is weird, but it's cool. Oh geez, we're already at 18 minutes. That's crazy. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Then a thing not about gear, but about like chords and stuff. Because what's cool to me is that when you're this is in a song I'm learning for a gig in a few days, like when you're having like a dominant seven chord, let's get rid of the delay, then it usually like resolves a fourth up or a fifth down. So C7 goes to F or minor. It can resolve to both minor and major. So but you can also use that same chord to modulate, to change keys to A flat. So when you're doing like so when we're in F, the dog's barking. What's happening? Wait. Okay, I'm gonna check out what's going on. My wife just came home from work and my dog is very excited about that. Yeah, so F. Okay, let's do that again. So that's a very cool way to modulate from like a key to a different key, to like the flat third of that key, because A flat was that kind of was the key to which I modulated from F, which is the flat third, because F is the 1, then G is 2, like the major second, and then A flat is the flat third. So that's a very cool device, because you can do so much with those 7th chords, man. I mean, you can modulate like half step up or like this, but there is so much that you can do with them, and that's cool. And it's cool to discover new ways to use these chords, and I thought that was like worth the mention, and it's a very cool device to use. Okay, and then I have one last thing to talk about, and that's, I was just watching some Red Hot Chili Peppers. Hold up. I was just watching some Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was watching their version from a Bob Dylan song named Subterranean Homesick Blues, which they totally fucked up and made their own version of. But it's an amazingly cool song. You should definitely check it out if you don't know it yet. But John Frusciante, he kind of does a thing where he plays on the downbeat, so like on the first beat of like the measure, he plays like a high thing, because usually you're or I maybe am used to starting on a low string, like, you know, like. But he does this thing, and I know he didn't like come up with this part, but I think he does this a lot, and I think it's a Hendrix thing, because he does this thing and he uses the chorus where he does. And that's just super cool to me. I mean, he is such a cool guitar player. I'm such a huge fan. I think he's been one of my greatest influences since I was like 14 years old or something. And I always loved his note choice in his solos, and also like things he did in his parts. I just love that. It's so cool. He's so cool. And so this is another thing that he does, that I really like, because it's different, you know. It's a tool that you can use when you're constructing parts for a song, or you're writing a song, and yeah, it's just cool to have new influences and look at how other guys are doing certain things, how they're approaching their parts. And this is a super cool example for me, because I was like, oh, he does that, and that's funny, you know. And I really like that. But by the way, I don't know if I've already said this, but that was but I was watching the live version from the Off the Map DVD, which I watched like 1,000 times when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. So that was a lot of fun. I loved that DVD, as well as the Slane Castle DVD, by the way. That's great as well. So this is kind of it. It's been fun to talk to you guys about this. I will also upload this as a podcast, so then you can choose the way in which you would like to consume this content. If you would like to watch me talk, or you just want to hear me talk, like on your way to work, or when you're doing the dishes, or like, yeah. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you've made any bad financial decisions regarding gear. Let me know if you're using gear that you kind of wouldn't expect with your playing style. Let me know if you like this kind of format. It's like the more quick and dirty version of making videos here on YouTube. It's not as edited and stuff, even though I will edit a little bit, but it's kind of meant to be like one take and let's go. So anyway, please do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe. Oh yeah, so the podcast, you can find it on the Guitar Express podcast. That's my podcast. I have interviewed a lot of Dutch guitar players, but it's all in Dutch. So if you're Dutch, that can be cool. If you're not Dutch, then that's basically rubbish, because you won't understand a word, probably. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. Peace, love, happiness. Thank you so much. Bye.